I just want to start off by saying thank you for listening and watching our PSA. We decided to do it on criminal justice and focus on minorities incarcerated. In that population, we focused on African Americans and Hispanics/Latinos. Minorities are ethnic and racial groups that are less visible in certain states and areas. Hispanics/Latinos are the largest ethnic minority. They make up about 18% of the population. We have African Americans, who are the second largest racial minority. They make up 13.4% of the population. In the image above, we can see how in about 20 years, over 10 states will have a minority population of 50 and above. And in 40 years, it would be over 15 states. But overall, every state would have at least 30% of their population will include minorities. A problem minorities deal with is racism. Two factors that lead to racism would be history that has followed African Americans for years, and ever since 1619, when slavery began, they have been targeted and seen as less. And even when slavery was abolished, they were still seen as criminals. Another factor is the media. Like in certain movies, African American women are seen as less than a white female in the movie. They are portrayed as rebellious, uneducated, disrespectful, and noisy. So people tend to have stereotypes already in their mind without creating them with their own experience. They just base everything off movies and news. In many Hispanic/Latino movies and TV shows, they are portraying a role of cartel leaders, which affects their image. It adds on to the fact that many Americans already believe that they only come to the United States to bring drugs and only create more issues. This has a negative effect since racism can lead to wrongful convictions.
Whites make up 64% of the total population, but only 31% of the incarcerated population. Blacks represent 14% of society, but 36% of the prison population. Hispanics are 16% of America, but 24% of the American prison population. Less than 1 in 100 Americans are currently in jail, but for some races, genders, and age groups, that ratio is a lot larger. For example,
in law, conviction is a verdict that usually results when the court of law finds a defendant guilty of a crime. Studies show that minorities are more likely to be wrongfully convicted. This is due to the fact of the following reasons. Firstly, there may be some patterns in crime. Another reason may be just blunt racism. This is motivated by hate and personal segregated beliefs. And lastly is racial bias. All three of these are to go to show how one's basic values and way of living can affect the life of a minority in an instant. Wrongful conviction has been happening for a while now. The first infamous case is the Scottsboro Boys. On March 25, 1931, a fight broke out on a Southern Railroad freight train in Jackson County, Alabama. 9 African American boys, ranging from the ages of 13 to 19, were arrested only for a minor charge. It wasn't until police had questioned 2 women named Ruby Bates and Victoria Price, where they then accused 2 boys of raping them while on board the train. The boys didn't even know each other, only 4 of them did, and it was on a very basic mutual level. Because of this assumption by the women, trials began to start. These trials were all white and were all male. 8 of the boys were sentenced to death. Luckily, with the help of the International Labor Defense, the legal wing of a Communist Party took the case and helped free 9 of these young men.
To really understand how racism plays a part in the California prison system, it is very important that we understand how many people are incarcerated. As of 2020, California state prisons have 131,000, California local jails have 82,000, and other facilities have 26,300 individuals. In total, it is 239,300 inmates in California. To simplify this huge number, we have decided to only focus on the California state prisons. In total, there are 34 prisons in California. During this research, it was clear that the majority of the prisoners are African American. In 2010, out of 100,000 people, 3,036 were African American, and this was only in 2010. From 2010 to 2017, there was a jump. It was no longer 3,036 African American, but 4,236 African Americans per 100,000. This information came from the Public Policy Institute of California. This number was 10 times more than white men in prison. When comparing to the 100,000, 422 were white American. This was not only for men, but for women as well. For African American women, it was 171 per 100,000. This was 5 times more than white American women. White American women had a total of 30 per 100,000. Another group that was affected was the Hispanic group. Although it is not a lot compared to the African American community, it was still more than the other ethnic groups. In 2010, it was 757 per 100,000. This number also jumped in 2017. In 2017, it became 1,016 per 100,000. For females, although it is a little bit more than white American women, it is 38 per 100,000. With these statistics, it is very clear that minorities are incarcerated the most.
To better our society, we need to bring some change into our prison system. A couple examples are eliminate incarceration as a penalty for certain classes of low-level nonviolent offenses, especially when those offenses are the result of mental illness, drug addiction, or first-time offenses. Another is to strengthen cost-effective alternatives to incarceration and drug treatment programs. We should strengthen and streamline our parole systems so that those who are genuinely pose public safety risks are best monitored. This will ensure that the vast majority of those who pose little or no safety risks are not unnecessarily kept or returned to prisons. We should ensure that those who need drug treatment get it so that they can avoid reoffending and productively re-enter society. Lastly, we need regular, systematic evaluations of our criminal justice system.